Hello, Jay Splay here, jumping in with a very quick Garb August video. This is an event that is being put on by Criminali, Ollie at Criminali, and various other shady fellows, where in the month of August they're going to read and celebrate the garbage that we sometimes read, that I hopefully enjoy. I think for myself, I have to say, going my motto for this month is definitely I'm going to read stuff that, on some level at least, it engages me. I kind of like the oiliness of it, whatever. Sometimes you feel like an oily hamburger. Sometimes you feel like an oily, slightly oozy, kind of gross book. Sometimes it appeals to whatever dark side in you, or maybe it's a dark side in you that you want to examine, or not dark, but just kind of like, that's kind of gross, really. So there are prompts for each week, as befitting me being Jay Splay for Garb August. I'm not really going to follow the prompts. I'm going to take the month as more an inspiration to read two authors that, for whatever reason, are embedded in my history of reading. The first one is Piers Anthony, best known for his fantasy series, the Xanth series, which is probably best known for being really punny, and also being, apologies to everybody out there who loves the series, but also pretty sexist. Even for the time, it was about the titillation. That, at least that's okay. Confession of, as being a peppy young teenager, it was the titillation that probably kept me kept me kept me coming back to his books. So I decided, I happened to come across, in one of the free libraries, which is one of the suggestions that Ollie suggested. It's like, take a look in your free library, see if you can find free copies of trash, because Lord knows you might not want to break the bank on it. And I happened to come across Piers Anthony, his Blue Adept, which is book number 2 in his the Apprentice Adept series. And at first I thought, oh, I'll just read this. I won't. It's like, there's no way I'm going to read the whole series of novels. There's, the three, at least back in the day when I was reading them. There's the three. It's like, I'll only read I'll read just this one. And it's one of these. Actually it's odd for and it's a kind of a. It's a mix for Anthony, because it's half of it is in science fiction world of Proton, and half of it is in a fantasy world phase. And I thought, okay, I'll just read this one. But then I started thinking about it, and I started remembering vaguely the first book, and thought, oh, that's too bad. So what I'm going to do for the month is I'm going to read the entire, well, not the entire series of novels, because Piers Anthony, very much a commercial writer. He popped out the first 3 novels in this series, like one after another. This was Blue Adept is the first one. Picture somewhere. 1981. No. God damn it. No. Split Infinity, the first one, was 1980. Blue Adept, this one, is 1981, and Juxtaposition was 1982. So yeah, boop, spat out that series. But because he's a commercial author, he then did go on after 5 years to continue with another 4 novels in the series. Though those ones seem to, as with his Xanth series, seem to follow different characters, often like the children of, or characters from the original thing. And all the reviews on Goodreads say that, like, these were the really good ones. This is definitely Piers Anthony at, I'd say, the height of his powers, and probably the height of his popularity, is, as an 80s author. So, he's one of these guys that I did consume a lot of his books as a teenager, a lot of his books, but then very much gave it up. He's very much kind of in a YA frame, even though a lot of his books are pretty can be pretty sexual. I think they're doing a read along of the what are they called, the Bio of a Space Tyrant series. Over Criminali and a bunch of others are going to be reading those, which that is a very brutal series. There's complaints about sexual assault in Piers Anthony's books. Those ones are quite heavy with that. He was going for his adult kind of focus books, though his writing style has always been kind of very kind of straightforward and a very kind of a way that kind of fits well for writing for younger people. Though his a lot of his instincts are of fairly sexual, fairly violent stuff. So, but told in a YA fashion, it was the kind of stuff as a kid I seemed to eat up, and I was one of those things like, okay, uh, is this trash? Is this series trash? I know there's a lot of Piers Anthony fans that really disagree with that characterization of his books being trashy, but um, I'd like to. That's this isn't me branding him trash, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try rereading the series, the first three books in the series, and see, how it goes. How it goes. What do I think of the books now? Will they keep me engaged? Because I do reserve the right. Like, if it's not keeping me engaged, if it doesn't, on some level, like, make me kind of like, what's going on here? Why is he doing this? Um, if it doesn't engage me that way, because I can hate read and be very engaged and enjoy myself in a way, good trash that way, but I don't want stuff that's boring. you know I think that the best for me, for Garb August, if you're celebrating this, it's something that somehow, even if it's terrible, it engages you with its terribleness. So that is what I'm going to try with Piers Anthony in Garb August. And the second one, which I also, with all these books, I'm going to definitely say I could just give up and walk away. And maybe I'll do a wrap up video. If I give up and walk away on all these books, I'll just do a report in by at the end of the month of like, why did I walk away from them? Or if I read them through, I'll just do a review like I always do. It's probably going to be doubtful if I do a review of this one. This is Henry Miller, who was known back in the day, American author, very much in the kind of the 40s, 50s, for writing very kind of scandalous novels. This is not a novel that was actually published back then. This is something, he was a literary novelist, really well known for his Tropic of Cancer, his Tropic novels, which are all about sort of Henry Miller figure in Paris, living as kind of a bohemian artist and being very frank about sex and about relationships with women, and also kind of like waxing about kind of semi philosophically but very vigorously about life as being a big American dude. And they have not aged well, but I was really into them, not as a young teenager, but kind of as a young kind of 19 to like 25-year-old. I loved Henry Miller, and that love hasn't really continued. He was kind of my entryway into literature in a way, as a very full of piss and vinegar young man. But this is an interesting instance because this wasn't published until 1983, and what it is back in the 40s, Henry Miller was short of cash, and a LA bookseller was selling pornography to some of his kind of Hollywood clients. And what he did is he commissioned Henry Miller to write, one page at a time, porn for him that he could then pass on and sell to kind of Hollywood types who had the money. And it's sort of, in some ways, is the definition of trash. I mean, in the sense of like something strictly just churned out for the money. But in this case, a semi kind of literary fellow, someone who, definitely is probably at least a footnote in American literature, if not maybe a little bit more than that. I don't know how widely read Henry Miller is actually today, but yeah, this was he basically just churned this stuff out, and at the end of it said, like, oh, hopefully it'll make a couple of months of rent for you, for your book, this bookseller whose bookstore wasn't doing so well at the time. So it is definitely probably the definition of junk. I don't know if I'll go into a detailed description of it. Flicking through it, women aren't particularly referred to in the most sensitive or respectful of terms. Henry Miller was pretty baldy and body and pretty, you know, kind of not chauvinistic in his regular work. So I'm not expecting this to be anything better than that. But I think it definitely fits well into Garb August. So I'll read it. I might just do a very abbreviated and very PG report on it at the end because, you know, it's apparently pornography. So I'll see. And it's pornography written in 1940. So who knows what that actually would qualify as today? Whether that's actually as risque as it would be. Maybe it would have been triple X at the time and is now maybe just rated M for mature. I guess I will find out. All right. So yeah, that is my extremely modest plans for Garb August. I'm a slow reader, so if I read 3 books from Piers Anthony and I read this, that will hopefully give me time to actually read less garbage stuff. Actually, it's funny. I'm actually at the moment reading something else that, in a way, in an odd way, you could take as garbage literature. Not garbage literature because of the of not garbage literature because of the writing, because I think this is a one of these classic works of nonfiction. It is William Shriver. Make sure I have the name right. The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William L. Schreier. Yeah, yeah, I picked this up very cheap, and I've just because I don't know, I felt like having something else to read at the moment. I'm reading that. I think this is one of these books, actually going back to my theme of my younger days, that I may have in the library at my high school on a lunch hour. It may have been one of these books that I sort of picked up and sort of kind of read throughout the year. And it was always one of these books that made me feel really kind of gross after reading it. And it's not because that William L. Schreier was writing an exploitative book, or that he was writing a book that was he was high. This is a guy who is detailing these fucking the definition of trash people, Nazis, the Nazis, their rise to power in Germany, and their fall, and it was just one of these books that I would read, and it would make me feel terrible. I would just feel awful having read it. So it's not a garbage book. It's just a book about garbage people and really unpleasant subject matter. But yeah, just one of those things that it's important to know. I don't know if that there's a way which there's Garb August is like, yeah, oh, it's the fun stuff, but it's like, yeah, there's also garbage in the world that we have to deal with every day and is still around, and is dangerous, as well as can be entertaining and laughable. And sometimes the stuff that we think like someone like Hitler was laughable was seen as this ridiculous man, and oh, nobody, people not taking him seriously, and that was a problem. So, you know, uh, a part of me reading Piers Anthony, reading Henry Miller is, there's a part of them that is kind of lodged in my head. They were there. I took them in at a formative period of my life. They fulfilled some sort of need. And so there's always that thing of like, I should go back and revisit this stuff because is there some of this stuff, there's some of this stuff in a way that is still unexamined in my head, and I should examine it and kind of pull it out there. Um, Garb August, very serious event, very important. Unless I just find it too tough, and then I'll just DNF the books because, or not tough, but like if I find them too boring, and then I'm just gonna DNF them, and that's fine too. All right, I've been Jay Splay. More videos later.